Are you back? Yeah. Hey. She's down here staring at me. Kaylee said hi. She doesn't have one. Well, I guess her middle name could be her old, when we adopted her, or, when we became her new parents, her old name was Ellen. So, but, when, how we all give our pets like 40,000 different names and never call them what we call them, or name them. But Greg will refer to her as Miss Eliphas Mayfer. So, take it for what you want. And my sister still claims that we had debated very briefly naming her LaFonda. So my sister still calls her that from time to time, but that's not her name. May Ellen, that's it. She sounds like, I don't know, a character on Beverly Hillbillies or Hee Haw or something. Do you want to be called May Ellen? Nah, she's not paying attention to me. I think Kip's out there somewhere. And she's got her defenses up in case he comes back here. Not that surprisingly. I mean, I think it's still on syndication somewhere. Yes, I did, because you're about the only person that I could think of that might be on here regularly enough that if I needed a mod, if ever I needed a mod, you would be it. But, have to start somewhere. Oh, you did. That's true. Well, you didn't miss much. There's a lot of bad TV. Still is. Honestly. Besides which, why shouldn't the teacher that has to teach small children be a moderator for a social media streaming platform? You got the skills, right? You can keep everybody under control. How's that? Like nobody knows until they know? And then once we're all here, then we all just pretend like only we get it. Only we're the ones on the inside of it. I will say. Oh, yeah, I don't get the emojis. Well, so you should, now that you're probably on several other people's, either following them or subscribe to them. Yeah, I was going to say, because like Michelle most of hers are ones that, like, there's a Hildy. I think most of them were designed by Wade. So yeah, I don't know what, if there's a separate, like, let's say platform, but separate program, I guess, where you can go in and design your own, or maybe you can go in and select from some that are kind of in the background that nobody sees till you're a subscriber or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, you probably can see a whole row that's just Michelle's emojis. I don't know. Do you follow Jessie? Because I say Jessie, I think, has her own channel emojis. They're all cats, but I'm just not that savvy, and nor do I guess I really care, honestly. I mean, I'm one of those people. Use your words, even though I'm the last person to use words. I mean, I think my sister and I could have an entire conversation with nothing but emojis sometimes. Emojis and GIFs. Sister and I joke that GIFs are our love language to each other. But yeah, you should have also gotten certain emojis. Lurkers. It's okay, let them lurk. That's what we're here for. I'm not here to judge. Don't do that, you'll scare them away. I like lurkers. They're here just to chill and relax and not have to be part of the conversation. Let them. Because I myself am part of that club. I am probably the president of my local chapter of the Lurker fan club. So y'all just lurk to your heart's content. But no, I was going to say it. Well, stop it. You're going to scare them away. You should have some... Is that anything like turtle power? Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? No, I'm not going to ban you. You're the only one I've got. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that big of a deal. Look, if you want to sit here and basically have a conversation with yourself and me and fill up the entire chat, that's perfectly fine. Why would I ban you for that? That's what it's there for. Besides which, I only got, what, 7 other people I can choose from? You and Naughty and Beck are about the only... Oh dear, here we go. Well, you may end up starting a freaking hype train or something on your... Well, probably not. But... throw enough emojis out there. You may as well try them all out. They're so dang small sometimes. Like, I'm on my phone watching Twitch streams that I can't even tell what half of them are. Like that one guy, has he got on 2 party hats and a... Or has he got horns? And are these actual people? That's another thing. Are these people we should know? Or are these just randos that just decided to make their face into him? Like people behind the scenes at Twitch Headquarters. Oh, is it? Okay. That's funny. So is it the person's, like, their face? Like the person that does that Twitch stream? Oof. Okay. That's hysterical. Well, see, somebody like you probably at least has other passions that would take you outside of the crafty world on here. Yeah. Well, as long as I assume you're following them at minimum, I believe. Oh, I bet. Musicians can be a little wild, to use your word. They're artistes. They have to be imaginative and a little eccentric, and otherwise they're not very good. No, not like that. It's a good thing. You have to have an imagination. You have to have creativity. You have to have something about your personality that is beyond what's considered socially normal. Otherwise, you would just be boring and nobody would pay attention to your music or your art or whatever it is. So boring doesn't stand out in a crowd, I guess is the best way to put it. Boring are the wallflowers like myself that like to just stand back and watch and enjoy. So are we stitching on anything? Switch. Gosh, you have no idea. Well, I should say I been working on Michelle's Hades and Persephone project. Gave myself, basically started it, spring equinox. Told myself I had till the summer solstice to finish it, and I'm on track. I mean, it's not big, but it'll be the 20th. It'll be 30 days or 31 days tomorrow. And I'm like at 40-something%. Good. And then last night, I couldn't stop thinking about it all freaking weekend when I bought it. I started Thurza, that one that Kansas City girl, the one that she did, and I'm doing the bright version. So all I've got done so far is the very, very center flower, like, I don't know, 2/3 of it maybe. But I don't know why it was bugging me. Yeah. Well, either you tell Susie you're thirsty, or you be the human that just lets her be. You know how it is. But yeah, I think I've decided that I don't think I've seen anybody use it yet. So I'm going to work on Thursdays and use the hashtag either Thursday Thursday or Thursday Thursdays or something like that. Yeah, I know. There have been times where I've been like, I need to use the bathroom, and the cat won't get up. And it's like, well, I could tell him that I'm just gonna go right here, but I don't think he's gonna care, so. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's about the most chill cat I think we're ever going to find or ever have known. Plus, she knows she's got it good. So what's your strategy with your full coverage? Are you just trying to put in just a few stitches, I don't know, one day a week or one day a month, and then or you just stitch on it till you're ready to pass along to something else? Just asking. I'm just trying to have a conversation here. Just told you about my Thursdays. Yeah, but see. I honestly feel like Sweewee needs to, that S needs to stand for start. Start what you want when you want, because that's how I feel right now. It's like, I just want to keep picking up new things. It's like, no, you gotta finish what you got, because I want to stitch all those things too. Because like this, I got going last week on it and then basically put it down for a week and worked on that Hades and Persephone and then picked up Thursday yesterday. Okay, well there you go. Haven't worked on any or just a particular one in 4 months? Because I know you got so many of them. I feel like you kind of at least do a little bit every once in a while on each one of them. And I ordered my, you said you have Lady Man, right? I ordered my, wow, that's crazy. I mean, not really. I don't remember what I've done since December either. I mean, and April's half over. It's almost May already. I ordered my Evertotes, or Leo and Roxy conversion for Lady Man today. And they already shipped that bad boy out. But I either had to order, like, I'm sure it could have gone through and, like, hand-picked. They didn't have, like, just the flosses. Like, they had them together with the pattern, either the paper chart or the PDF, which I already have both. So I ordered another paper chart, thinking, okay, well, maybe I can gift it to somebody. At least I know I can gift a paper chart and not feel oogie about it. But I probably could have handpicked all the individual flosses. But it's just so much easier when they put it together in a nice little package. So I'm going to have a third copy of that pattern. I was going to say the Emma, yeah, I would say whatever word you want to use. I say most people might not consider those Stitchrovia pieces full coverage, but they are. So they're just not the conventional, when people think of full coverage, what they think of when you say that. But it doesn't mean they aren't. But so that'll be another one that I will, as soon as I get those flosses, I will be starting that, because I know myself well enough to know I'm not going to be able to not start it. And I did stitch my first 40 count 1/1, but I can't show you because I don't have it, because it was a gift for somebody and they don't have it yet. But I was going to send you the picture in like your DMs or something once I knew they had it. I think they'll have it on Thursday. I stitched it and then I made it into a button / needle minder. Gave it to them as a needle minder. And you want to talk about these old eyes going, what are you doing, lady? It was rough. But I had like just a little scrap piece. And I've got enough to do like 3 more of them, I think, with what I've got left. It was teeny tiny. Fortunately, I picked something that went rather quick. Like I stitched it in one night. Like it didn't take me very long at all. The stitch I did. So, you put all that, well, I say all that work. So your giant USA one, what, you got in Washington and part of Oregon? Or not even? Part of Washington, part of Oregon? A little bit of California, maybe? Is it just not doing anything for you? Or you just think with all the other states you're stitching, you like that better? Yeah. And I get it, because, well, all of them to me look like just, it'd take me the rest of my life. $25 count, okay. So was it purchased, like, maybe not as a full kit, but like, well, maybe it was, floss and everything? That's actually a pretty good chunk. I mean, almost 4%. That's a lot. Oh, okay. So then you just found the 25 count and went for it. It seems like a lot of them are on 25 count. That's the reason why I thought maybe it was a kit. Yeah. Well, yeah. 180 pages really doesn't surprise me. There have to be things about that, though, that you can, yeah, that's about 3%. I would think that if you went back and looked, there would be certain, like, either, like, the way a state name was graphed with, like Like the Washington, for example, I don't know that it's on there, but like, the way Washington's, the name is put on the state, and then like if there was an apple or something, and then you stitch just the, the state border or what. I mean, there have to be ways that you could still use it, find some creative ways to stitch pieces of it, even if it wasn't the whole thing full coverage. Or a little, because there are like little landmarks and stuff on there too, right? But if it doesn't bring you joy, I totally understand. Crazy cat. Yeah. Well, and I have to think with the other pieces you have, or the other pieces that I know of that you have. I'm sure there are certain ones that you feel like take priority. That you want to complete. So maybe that one's so low on the list you just don't think. You always find yourself reaching for something else, maybe. Because you've got Starry Cats, you've got Barnyard. I would count your Emma Congdon ones, even if you wouldn't. You've got your black and white photo. Yeah. Well, have you ever compared, well, I don't know how you, I know they're all digital, but I'd be curious if the number of stitches in the individual state patterns you have are anywhere close to the number of stitches you'd put in your full coverage piece if you stitch that same state. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Because that would be weird to think you're literally putting in the same number of stitches almost twice for the same state. Holy, that's crazy. What's even kind of, no kidding, what's even kind of more mind-boggling to me is, and you've done over 3.5% of that. That number is pretty crazy too. Still, as far as I mean, I get the point of the argument, but stitches are stitches, man. I mean, I get what you're saying. If you're saying that, you know, that's really only, you know, what, 13,000, you know, 700 and whatever. I get that, but full stitches, full cross, but still a lot of stitches, man. She's being exceptionally lazy over here. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do. I will say, I don't know. Well, probably like she is right now, it's probably not that big of a deal, but I always get the sneaking suspicion that they know when a camera's on them, because they can sit there for like forever and do absolutely nothing and be totally fine with that, and then the minute I point my phone at them, then they look away or they get up and walk off or something. It's like they just know. Yeah, but that's probably because she knows she's got such a good situation that if what little she has to do is just be cute for the camera and she can stick around and be loved on by you guys, what's the, you know, why not? Small price to pay as far as she's concerned. Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. So they got a little bit of white on them. They know it was pregnant. Aww. They asking you, do you know anybody that wants a cat? That's what my sister does, but with dogs. Because otherwise she'd adopt them all. Yeah. A lot of times, well, I say a lot of times, depends on the situation the cat is living, but, you know, most farm cats I've ever known are pretty lean, you know, athletic. So usually a pregnancy shows pretty well, just because all of a sudden they look like they've got like a, you know, swollen stomach, but well, it just means they're going to have a bunch of farm cats now. Oh my goodness. Well, before we bought this house, so we're talking 25 years ago, maybe, we were renting a house in another part of town, and I think if I remember correctly, it was either 4th of July or Labor Day, but a stray had left a litter, a full litter of kittens, 6 kittens, in the shed that we had in our backyard, and we found them. And the bad thing is, when it's that time of year and cats are having litters left and right, nobody will take them, and we ended up bottle raising them and keeping them all, getting them all fixed, and then they ended up going back outside because we weren't having 6 cats in there. Well, and actually one of the 6, my husband's old boss took him, and he was a black and white. But the other 5, they went back outside, and they did just fine. And then when we moved here, we brought them all with us. I think only one didn't stick around. Just, I don't know if she didn't like the neighborhood, or maybe somebody in the neighborhood kind of adopted her informally. I don't know, but all the rest of them stuck around until, you know, they got older and either passed away or moved on, you know, how they do. So, but I do not wish that on anybody. Luckily, they've got the mom cat there, but bottle feeding, oh my gosh, that's a nightmare. Oh yeah, I bet. Good grief. So, is this your sister's cat, or a cat that your sister, like, you know, again, just stray that's outside? I mean, because we've got several strays that like hanging out on our back porch, and we know a couple of them, or one of them we know has been pregnant multiple times, because we've had kittens, you know, show up and then disappear. So we know what that's all about. Lovely. Yeah, unless you're in the business of breeding, I still would strongly encourage anybody who was. We've got enough animals on this planet as it is. Domesticated, you know, pets. We really don't need any more. We love them, but there's not room for them all, and they're not being taken care of properly. And yeah, need to get it fixed. Yeah, which is it? Is it one of her forward-facing claws, or is it like that dew claw, the one that's kind of like the equivalent of our thumb? Ours have that back, you know, dew claw, thumb claw that, oh my gosh, they grow like exactly like that, actually. I think they were birds. Oh. Well, ours don't like their feet being touched, so usually trimming claws around here takes about a month, because you trim like 2 and they run away and they won't let you touch them anymore, and then you trim like 2 and then they run away, and yeah, no, and typically they kind of get dulled down, just, you know, like if you've got laminate or hardwood floors or whatever, they kind of wear themselves down. I know when ours gets too long, because they start chewing on them, you know, chewing them like they're, you know, chewing off their nails or whatever. Or I will trim them when they decide they're going to sit on our lap, and then when they get up to jump down, they end up getting hung up, you know, like on your pants or something. Because I'm always afraid they're going to jump down and twist their back leg or something because they're hung up. And they don't, Kip swipes, and he uses his claws when he does, but he hardly ever does that. I mean, he's not mean. He just, you know, he wants to play, but he plays with claws. So I try to keep his trimmed. May doesn't do that. May will do everything but use her claws if she can help it. She'll play, but she does not use her claws on you. Which is good, but it just means that I don't know how bad hers get. Sometimes. Like I said, until she starts chewing on them. guess I didn't realize all of your... I mean, farm cats are kind of different, but I guess I didn't realize your family all had cats as well. Yeah, I was gonna say most people, like, that's how, you know, Greg's family's from western Oklahoma. Their farm, you know, cattle. They raise cattle, but then they also raise, you know, crops and stuff. And they always had same thing, just barn cats to keep other critters away, basically. But my family, my father does not like cats at all. So I wasn't even exposed or, you know, introduced to having a cat as a pet until I met Greg. And we pretty much had him ever since. Oh, well, there's always one. There's always special kitties. That's my in-laws. Their last cat that they had, she was an old cat. When they still lived in the Panhandle, when Greg and I were first dating, she had followed his dad home from the track at the high school one time from running. So she was a street cat, and basically they let her hang around the house. Well, then she kind of got let in the house, and then she became their cat. So they did all the, you know, vaccination shots, all that stuff. But then when they moved to Colorado, retired, moved up there, she became like my mother-in-law's little hiking buddy. And they went everywhere hiking around the house, their property. And yeah, she was kind of my father-in-law's little special favorite. But then as she got older, she had to have lived to at least be 20. Just, you know, things got complicated. I mean, as they do for 20-year-old cats. So they finally had to put her down year before last, I think. I mean, it was just, she was old. It was, you know, she's hard of hearing, couldn't see, having a hard time getting them down the stairs in their house. Wasn't eating well, you know, all those things. So it's just kind of time to do the humane thing. But I think that's, my husband pretty much just grew up always having a cat in the house, and then his roommates. Hi, Beck. When he moved down here to go to college, all his roommates had cats. So he's just kind of been that kind of person. But like me, I mean, really doesn't matter. I mean, animals are animals. Love all animals. I mean, we currently have a possum or two living in our backyard, and we kind of try to leave them alone and let them be. But we are concerned about one of them because it's got what appeared to be back leg issues that we don't know if it was attacked or not, but it's a possum. What are you gonna do? The mouse. Someone brought a mouse, or it just showed up like y'all needed to call an exterminator, or is there a new like pet, class pet? I always love the class pets. Ooh, fun. Now, so did that cause quite a distraction? Did you have kids that were anything but paying attention to you once that happened? Or did you just kind of have to clear them all out and... Gee whiz. Well, that's good. Remember we had one of our middle school science teachers, he had a parrot, but it was his pet, but he always brought it up to school, several times a year. That was always exciting. I can't remember if it was a parrot or if it was like a cockatoo or something. I honestly do not know now. Hi, Nemo. Yeah, no kidding. That's crazy. Well, I guess it's one of those things where if someone doesn't know how to handle a situation, but yikes, that's nuts. I still would have tried to trap it. No, you don't. Don't tell that child what they think about a mouse. They may have really liked that mouse a lot. I mean, well, but that's okay. You, Kaylee, of all people, being from a rural part of the world, you could have the most up-to-date facility in the, on the planet. But if you're, near now, okay, you now obviously work for a pretty urban area. It was truly a mouse. It wasn't like a rat, because I would totally get if, rats need to be dealt with. Yeah, they are. I mean, all animals are cute. They are. I don't care what anybody says. Even squid and tarantula and snakes. And I hope I'm not triggering anybody, but all animals are cute in their own way. Yeah, okay. It probably has been, I'm sure they did. Kids don't know any better. I mean, they're not, it's not like they're all in biology or something. But I'm sure, being the time of year that it is, you're exactly right. It's probably been in some pseudo form of hibernation in that school. And now that it's spring, it's come out and it's like, okay, it's time to eat. What do we got going on here, folks? And whammo. That is really traumatic, though. The coach thought that they had to just stomp on it. Yeah, well, and heaven forbid that goes south, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it goes from just, a mouse running around your classroom or being in the corner or doing what it's doing, to all of a sudden you've got, like I said, that's what I was asking before about how much of a distraction it was. All of a sudden you've got a bunch of kids that can't pay attention or concentrate or whatever because there's an animal in your classroom that, you know, wasn't scheduled to be there. Right. I remember when I worked for the county, we had this girl that was just your typical like bleeding heart, you know, earthy kind of person. And there was so the Trinity River kind of ran near our building, and there was kind of a little fork, like drainage, little creek that ran like right next to our building. And she was coming back from lunch, and there was like a turtle or something that was trying to cross the service road to get to that little pond or creek or whatever it was. And she was scared it was going to get run over, so she brought it into our office, and our manager just about flipped out on her. Because she had, I don't even remember what she did. I think it was in her car, and she came up and got like an old, you know, office supplies empty box or something, and got it and brought it up to her office, asking us what all she should do with it. And oh my gosh, that was just like the craziest day ever. You know, it's one of those things where everybody talked about, it's all anybody talked about for like a year was the day Sarah brought a turtle up to the office. Because she didn't know any better. But, as I say, around here, I've been in office buildings where, like, geckos are pretty normal, especially when we get really, really intense rains, and it gets really warm and really humid, and they want to hang out. You just kind of see them and just roll on past. I mean, what are you going to do? They kind of just scurry, you know, back wherever they came from. And how many times, I don't know about you, but I've thank you, Nemo. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you happen to be. Thanks for stopping by. The other one that always gets me is around here, I know, especially like the Home Depot or Lowe's will always have birds flying around in them. And I've even been in grocery stores where birds have gotten in and, you know, are caught somewhere where they can't get them out, and they just hang out all day. So you hear the tweeting and the carrying on, and you look up and there's, you know, usually they're either sparrows or starlings or something, but caught. And I think with Home Depot, it's always like the garden section, because that part's like outdoors. So I think they get caught up in there, and then all of a sudden they find an opportunity to come inside the building and can't get out. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. What did you get? I want to know. I want to know. I saw you just sent out some fun mail and people were getting receiving theirs from you, which is always so exciting. Fantastic. Okay, so I know you told me about the Leo and Roxy. Did you sign up for the subscription? Or did you buy like a specific like floss pack? And same with Brennan Needle, I suppose. I don't know enough about them if they have like subscriptions or if you bought specific floss packs from them. I was telling Kaylee earlier that Evertote put out their Leo and Roxy conversion of Lady Man, so I ordered that today and got the notification it had already shipped out today, so I guess they had those ready to go. You are? Okay, well, no spoilers, man. I'm so far behind on that show. But I know this is it. So enjoy it. I'm not going to be on here too much longer. Yeah, I've been on here for over an hour, but I'm... Stop it. Well, I know, Breaking Bad people... Stop. Breaking Bad people show up in this last season, but... Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's good that they've still got the Pride packs available. That's awesome. I still have pretty much all of mine. I guess when I first got that, there were so few flosses available. I was being kind of careful with what I chose to use Leo and Roxy with, because there weren't any real patterns yet to stitch with them very early on, so I was kind of being selective about my use. But now that they've got plenty of floss out there, I kind of feel like I should probably just go gung-ho with them. Okay, bye. I'm sure we'll see each other later. Enjoy your show. Oh, that's awesome. Well, that was very kind of them. Two extras of the ones you ordered, or two extras, like two new colors maybe that they were just getting ready to either release, or you know, like one of kinds maybe that I know, like some independent floss dyers will have like one of a kind batches where like the color didn't come out quite right, so they just kind of make a special, you know, batch of, once they're gone, because they can't duplicate them, but at the same time, you know, they weren't meant to be, so they give them away sometimes. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. Well, that's really, really nice. Who was it that... Oh, well, was watching Rai Rai McGuy today, and he had some Brennan needle that I think he was giving away as part of a, you know, a thing for his channel. And then I guess with all the Stitch North stuff I've seen so far, it seems like, you know, because they were there as a vendor or whatever, I think I've seen a lot of people show off their Brennan needle. So that's exciting. Yeah, I know, right? I think we talked about this before, that they're kind of different part of Canada, but they're kind of on your side of the eastern side of Canada, so they get to you pretty quick. Because like with yeah, with ordering from Caroline at Evertote, usually they get here pretty fast, but usually, like, depending on the service that they use to send it, depending, I think part of that depends on the amount, dollar amount too. But sometimes, you know, I won't get full tracking. I'll only get it up to the point that, like, it reaches the States, and then I kind of just have to sit and wait for it to show up. Like, I really don't know what day it'll get here. I just kind of have a rough idea, but it's always quick. As long as it's something that's, you know, in stock, something that's not a pre-order. Do they have a brick and mortar? Like an actual storefront? Or do they just sell online and then... Yeah, see, like with Leo and Roxy, I knew about Leo and Roxy yarn, of course, preceded Leo and Roxy floss. And of course, that was Carrie and Jolene at the time. And their shop was the Little Red Mitten that they had bought in Ontario. And then, of course, Carrie went out and started the floss thing. And I don't think Evertote has, I mean, they have a space that they use to warehouse everything and package orders and make bags and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think they are technically a storefront either for Leo and Roxy. Right. So I kind of felt maybe that was the same way with Brennan Needle, but I didn't know if Brennan Needle had more of a background in other things, kind of like Leo and Roxy did, and then branched out, or if this is truly what they do, is just cross-stitch embroidery. Yeah. And I kind of have always gotten that impression of the yarn. Gotcha. And there are quite a few like that I think that have figured that out, that the technique in dyeing yarn, if that's what they did at one time, gives them an advantage in the learning curve in dyeing floss, whether it's silk or cotton or some other wool, something like that. So once you have somewhat of that experience down, then you can translate it a little bit over into the other. And as trends change, and I mean, there's still a huge, knitting, crochet, yarn community. So you just have to decide if you want to switch gears or if you just want to branch out, do a little bit of everything. And sometimes I think part of that is the company owners or business owners tastes also change. Their hobbies change, so they like to make and create and sell the things that they're into. Right. No, and I think the speckled thing's fantastic. I saw Michelle Kaylee had sent her some speckled floss, and yeah, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I've bought floss from companies that are also yarn dyers, and it's interesting to see because with hand-dyed floss, you will always get variation more than you will with something like DMC that is very, very dyed very tonally, very saturated, very, it's even, but you always will get that regardless of the dye lot. Whereas with independent hand-dyed flosses, you always get much more subtle variation, and it's so nice. But then for people to take that idea and then go one step further and put speckles and make the floss, truly like a rainbow color, it's just really, really cool because it just adds so much. It allows you to do so much more with your stitching. Yeah, I know it's hard to go back. I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like DMC is the standard in which it's almost like that's what you use to compare colors, or if you're saying, well, what kind of green is it? Well, it's it's like such and such green, whatever the green numbers are, I don't even know. Or, what is it? Is it a true black like 310? Well, no, it's more of a gray like a 37.99, that kind of thing. But what you don't get with DMC is when you're stitching, like, let's say an animal that isn't truly just all one color, but you have a hand-dyed floss that has just enough variegation in it that you get those subtle like changes that would be in their fur or their coat. That's when it really becomes very useful, and you start to see how great it is to stitch with it, even if it means you're just going out on your own. Yeah. And it's always interesting with Pantone too, because it always cracks me up when you see them come out with what the Pantone color of the year is or whatever, and I always think, for the year or just for like the next like season? Because it seems like about 3 or 4 times a year they change their color of the year colors, but I really think that's more of a seasonal thing that they do. Well, that's exciting. I'm so excited that you got some good colors. Hopefully you have ideas of what you want to do with them. And the nice thing is, any small pattern you have, you can certainly adapt. Or, you know, convert colors. Even if they aren't exactly the same, hopefully you have enough colors that you can even sub in one or two here and there, just to give your pattern something unique when you stitch it. That's always exciting. That's true. But it's still a good start. Right. Well, and what's really kind of fun is I haven't done it too much just because, you know, so busy stitching. But I also like mixing, taking right. If I can't quite find the color either that I'm looking for, or in the cases of like bought a pattern here recently, and I think it was I want to say done in Gentle Art or Color and Cotton or something, and it's just not something that I have any of, but you could kind of tell by looking at the picture of the pattern that there's a lot of variegation in the. So I started looking at just, okay, well, you know, the substitution would be like DMC such and such, but you knew it was going to be such a flat color, and I thought, well, what if you took that DMC one strand and this DMC another strand and let it blend? And sometimes you get some really amazing stuff that way too. No, that's all right. No, I totally get it. It's definitely something not everybody fully grasps. You know, sometimes the best way you can explain it is by pointing out how, you know, anybody who has a color printer at home recognizes that there are only 4 colors, or is that right? 4 colors. But that those colors make up all of the varying degrees and shades and tones of every green and orange and purple and, you know, all of it. It's just, you know, how much of each color is used to get that final. Whereas you're right, Pantone is unique in and of itself. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Say, when my husband worked for, he was the graphic designer for a commercial sign company, but their swatch books were always for the commercial grade paint that they'd buy, or the if they bought vinyl, or if they bought acrylic for lettering for signs and stuff like that. Those were the swatch books they based on. The owner of the company was big on color, but I don't know that she would have ever purchased a Pantone book, just because I don't think they would have had the means to recreate, or if she had one for to use in their business, I'm sure she would only use it as a way to sample, to get ideas, not that she'd actually be able to use those exact colors in their sign work. But he doesn't do that anymore. Right. That's what I was thinking, because in their situation, they're limited to the companies in which they buy their actual, like I said, paint, vinyl, acrylic from, and so they're limited to the colors in which those companies make the products that they would use. So yeah, I know she always did a lot of her mock-ups. Like, she would actually draw them, sketch them out, and so yeah, if she ever used it for a reference, there was no way she could have ever duplicated it on an actual sign. All she could go with was the closest thing, if a company was actually looking for some kind of specific color, or a lot of cases what they did were the identification signs for like apartment buildings, and like all the matching building numbers and stuff like that. So typically most of those companies, because they would own multiple complexes, usually all wanted either the font and the look to be the same, but slightly changed up, based on whatever the name was, but they'd all be some kind of thematic, nature or something, or they always wanted them to be the same color scheme, just different typeset, different fonts, different styling, that kind of thing. So, but that's just because, they were managed, the managers or the owners of the apartment complexes were always the same, group for, several all across, a certain area. So, yeah, and I honestly don't think they ever mix their own paint. I'm almost positive she would have a color and go take it in to whoever their commercial supplier was and tell them this is what we want. Or, like I said, she'd have a swatch book of the paints available to them and then work within that range. And especially with stuff like that, commercial buildings and stuff, they're also limited then by, what will stand up to UV and heat and weather and all that kind of stuff too. So then that just limits what they can, their options, what they can use even more. So right. Well, and I think that's why the Pantone thing becomes so kind of popular in the fashion industry too, because if you were truly trying to duplicate a Pantone color, then everything is going to match or everything's going to coordinate, as opposed to having subtle, everybody knows that you can go to a store to buy a black sweater, and that black is going to be different based on, the fabric type, the color of the yarn, the way it was treated during the manufacturing process, all of those things. So you never get you could never put together a true black outfit because all the black pieces of clothing you're putting together are all completely different types of whatever. But I think in the fashion industry, when they try to use Pantone as a way to use it as a reference, I guess the best way to put it, that's when you know that they're truly trying to get a specific color in their clothing line. And it has to be just so. Right. And a lot of companies like that too. It's copyrighted, trademarked. I mean, it is their color. There's no... Right. Well, I was going to say, all I know from a fashion point of view truly is like the knitwear, like companies that sell yarn, are trying to do like seasonal lookbooks for their yarn. They will reference Pantone as an inspirational facet, a segment of their season of what they're looking for. And it just always would crack me up about, the Pantone color of the year is, salmon or lilac, or, and I'm being oversimplifying those colors, but that would happen like 3 or 4 times a year. And I'm like, okay, so which is it? Is it teal? Is it, is it lavender? What are we doing here, guys? And then you come to realize, oh no, the salmon or the coral or whatever is for the summer color, but the teal or the lavender is the spring color or the fall color, So then you realize, okay, well, this is just, like, I think one of them announced this year was like an orange or something, so. But yeah, a lot of the fiber art companies look to that as a way to market, especially like, yarn used for knitting or crocheting apparel. Yeah. No, it's not. I was going to say, well, maybe I shouldn't. I guess I should be glad it doesn't pervade cross-stitch like it does yarn, because sometimes it's, I don't know, it's overwhelming, but sometimes I see people design, knitwear patterns or whatever around Pantone colors, which is great, but if those are meant to be seasonal or trendy, I sit there and I kind of think, yeah, but, in 6 months, that's not going to be a popular color anymore, or people are going to have moved on from it, and it just doesn't seem like, I would much rather somebody design a sweater in neutral colors, stuff that transcends trendy fashion or whatever. So, if you can do it in a ivory white or in a navy blue or a nice charcoal or heather gray, and it can be worn by anyone, and it's not something that would, you know, if you look back on it in 10 years, would date the picture. To me, that is more effective in selling knitwear, yarn, you know, that kind of thing, as opposed to, you know, these bright, unique. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I mean, the unique, there's a place for it, but I feel like if you've gone through the trouble of spending what can be very good money in order for you to knit yourself a sweater, and especially given the time it takes you to do it, I'd at least like that sweater to last beyond the season in which it was knit and worn. But just like, you know, like we see it in cross stitch, where people appreciate patterns that you can change up and convert into your own colors, to match, you know, the colors you like, or the color scheme that you want to use. There's no set, you know, there's nothing in the rule book or the code book that says you have to stitch this in these colors. It's the same way with the knitting too. I mean, somebody can design a really pretty, you know, white and teal or white and coral pattern, but that's not to say that you couldn't very easily make it less of a trendy look and more of a everlasting look by just changing those colors to match any wardrobe. No, I never was either. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did bow to peer pressure when I was a teenager. There were always things that, you know, certain brands or whatever that I think when we're all teenagers, we're just trying to fit in. But I learned very quickly once I got out of high school, I did not, and do not, still to this day, really care. If it makes me happy and I'm comfortable, I really don't care where it comes from, what it looks like. And I really have a strong opinion about those who would judge other people for what they wear, or one of my old jobs, there's a new manager in the department I worked in, and he is notorious for looking at, you know, tags or, you know, brands of people's shoes and watches and stuff and making comments, and it just makes me sick, because truly, as far as I'm concerned, I just want to be comfortable, whether it's that it fits right, or that it's not too hot or too cold, and that honestly, I don't want anything drawing attention to me. So, yeah, I'm all about the gray. I have a lot of gray. It's not to say I don't have a lot of color, but I have a lot of gray and navy blue and, you know, like olive green in my wardrobe, just because to me that's where it's at. Yeah, I was gonna say the keep for a long time. It's funny because I'm the same way, but never fails. I end up, my weight fluctuates quite a bit, so it's like, yeah, I want it to last a long time, but it's gotta last a long time through multiple size ranges. So, yeah. Stretchy is always good, helpful. Comfortable is always a must for me. Friend and I are fixing to go take a trip to go see friends up in Washington, and I told her, I said, man, I've got to get to the point where I just pack light. And I said, when we go camping, I said, I've got that down, because I do not care. I know what I'm taking. I know it's going to get dirty. I'm not there to impress anybody. I'm just there for comfort, good comfortable shoes, being able to, manage getting around, and I'm not bringing anything special. I said, I just got to get in that habit with vacation clothes too. It's like, I don't need to bring a bunch of stuff. I'm not doing anything exciting. So I've got to try to find a carry-on suitcase, because the last one I had, I think, is just about at its last end of the line. I think the expandable handle has now kind of come loose of the little frame that it sits in on the inside of the suitcase, in between the liner and the back, and so now I think it's starting to rub through the liner, so it's starting to look a little shabby. And before I forget, when I dropped that pattern in the mail to you the other day, I did put tracking on it, or it's, being shipped a way that I can track it. So I think it suggests you should get it by about Thursday. It'll be coming UPS. And I think I looked today, and it had reached New York, which makes me think it's probably gonna cross over tonight or tomorrow. So that should be exciting. Yeah, I thought you'd like that. It was so funny because, and this is truly just me, and I think it's just a part of my anxiety, but I get so nervous about, especially sending things to people for the first time that I've never sent to before, and my brain starts just overthinking it. And I thought, okay, well, I knew I needed to get it in the mail to you, and I had it all ready to go, but I was like, okay, how do I want to do this? Because once it leaves the post office, I don't know how their tracking system will work. And I was like, do I send it? It's like, I've just got to send it some carrier that I know goes between our two countries. So it was either FedEx or UPS. And I'd never shipped internationally with FedEx before, other than at work. So I was like, okay, I'll go with UPS. I know how that works. I can keep track of stuff that way. So that's the way you're getting it. Oh, yeah, and I didn't even think about that. But it told me, I mean, like when I was, it said anywhere from, well, it was kind of laughable. I think the low end, it said like 2 days. And I'm like, okay, there's no way this is getting there in 2 days. You can just stop with that nonsense. But I think the high end was like 8. And I thought, okay, well, that's all, a little more than a week. That sounds about right. The only thing I never know with that number is, okay, do you mean 8 business days, like, shipping days, or do you mean like 8, calendar days? Because that's two very different things. But yeah, I think right now, currently, the track is set for Thursday. Well, and I do that with people like, I'm constantly sending my mom stuff, or my in-law stuff, or my sister-in-law stuff, or, my sister stuff, So I know, the level of expectation is there on their end, so they know they're getting, well, unless I'm trying to surprise somebody, but if I'm trying to surprise them, then yes, I want tracking because I want to make sure I got there. But if they know that they're expecting something, I know close people that I ship to all the time will say, hey, I got that, thank you. But when it's somebody new, and you never know if you've got, everything just right, or you never know, somebody's situation. Like, I've sent stuff to Kaylee, and she lives in an apartment building. You just never know. So yeah, tracking always helps. And if nothing else, then I can at least say, hey, this got lost. Can you find this? Because this was for somebody, and it was kind of important. No, and that is everybody. I mean, I think everybody's completely different. Like I said, I think with me, it's just my brain and my anxiety, and yeah, definitely if it's just, it gets there, it gets there. That's kind of the thing about, when now that giveaways are more common on, people that we watch their floss tubes and stuff, I'm glad more of them are adding the disclaimer that, hey, like Michelle's been very good here lately of saying this has no value. This is not, this is just me doing something nice for you. So, once it's out there, and that's it. And you have to understand those terms and be okay with that. And for what it's worth, I mean, we kind of watched our postal system go through an absolute just nightmare scenario of things not going right for a couple of years there, and still people's stuff getting lost and just whatever. So you're just kind of relying on the system that's in place to work like it's supposed to work. So sometimes sending stuff UPS or FedEx, you just feel better about it because at least those systems haven't been tampered with, maybe is the correct way to put it. Haven't been affected as greatly. And especially as long as you're not shipping around the holiday, around major gift-giving holidays, then it has a pretty good chance of getting there in a reasonable amount of time. Are you back? Did you come to say hi? Yeah. Or did you come to ask me if it's dinner time? I'm almost done with this one leaf on this plant, and that is probably where I'm going to end it. I don't have too many stitches left. Stop glaring at me. Silly little girl. Kitty, or May, back sending you a kitty emoji. She's saying hi. Hi. May, honestly, I think doesn't care about saying hi. She just wants to eat again. And both of them know it's bedtime. I'm sure Kip's already in there. Like, I'm getting started, lady. I'm not waiting on you. Yeah? Anything else? Anything else you'd like to say before I'm done here? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Well, I kind of had to stop. It's not gonna matter terribly, I don't think, on this one, but if you have any of Deanna's paper patterns, and it's nothing she, you know, nothing wrong with paper patterns at all, it's my brain. I am so used to using Pattern Keeper for most things that when I use paper patterns, I forget that it's not really telling me where to stitch the colors. So I realized the face here is right in here somewhere. So I've stitched all that white. So I think just for this one, because I think it'll be okay, I'm gonna duplicate stitch. So basically take the gray, the dark gray that I've got, and I'm just gonna stitch over those stitches, and I think it'll be okay. But if not, I'll just pull it back out. Like, I'll start with one of the eyes and see how it looks. And if it doesn't look, then I'll go back in with the seam ripper and basically just rip out those few stitches and stitch them in. But I was just going along with that cat face, and it never even occurred to me, oh, hey, wait a minute, you've got a different color you've got to stitch for the eyes and the nose. So yeah, kind of fudgied that one a little bit, but it'll be all right. Yeah, it'll be okay. But yes, once the plant once I got to that part and realized what I had done, I was like, okay, I need to take a break. And I thought, well, there's two different colors for this plant, so I thought, okay, let me go up here, because it'll help me kind of make sure my spacing, you know, I'm still doing okay on my spacing on my white. And it kind of gave me a break to think about what to do about the face. But I think, like I said, that's what I'm going to start with, see where it goes, or see how it turns out. And I've duplicate stitched stuff before. As long as the second color is darker, usually it turns out just fine, because you can't really, I mean, like in this case, it'll look like a couple of eyes and a nose on top of a white face, so it really won't be that big of a deal. I think if it had been on the orange, or if it had been the vanilla covered dark color on top of that charcoal gray, it wouldn't look good. You'd be able to see through it, but I think on this one it'll be alright. I just have to remember on the other two not to make sure I get it right. Well, and the thing was, yeah, I was to say, it was the rhythm, and it was also the fact that it was, in my head, I was just thinking it was like full color, like I was just color completing, you know? I was just filling in a cat head, and it was going to be so simple, and I got across to the bottom, and then, you know, had that one, you know, extra stitch on each side, so I was just going and going and going, and then I got the ear done, and then just kept going up and down, and I was like, okay, this is great, because it's very, you know, the lines are very clean. There isn't a lot of, you know, weird spacing or anything like that. I mean, it's just a white cat face. So yeah, I just wasn't even thinking about it. But I think it'll be fine. And then the other thing that's nice about when you're just filling in a color like that, stitching, and you don't really have to think about things, you can think about other things. So I was thinking about how it's going to finish this, because she's got hers on that square, for like a square pot, but I think what I want to do with mine is put stabilizer on it in fabric, and then do some kind of either button and elastic, or ties, you know, fabric ties on the back, so that way it can go around like a round pot. So I'm just trying to work all that out in my head too, and then I get distracted with that and don't pay attention to where I'm stitching. Okay, well, I'm at a good stopping place. So hopefully it is a good time for you to gonna go check the cat food dishes. Make sure they have enough to eat that they won't wake me up in the middle of the night like little terrors. I'm not terrible at finishing. Usually if I have an idea in mind, I will finish it, but I'm usually bad at trying to decide how to finish something. So yes, we will talk soon. You have a good night. Have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm sure we'll see each other around soon. Bye for now.